So tip number 3 is breastfeeding preparation. I'm just going to jump to this one because I read a stat this morning that 85% of Australian women abandon exclusive breastfeeding by the time their bub is 5 months old. And so I am a big breastfeeding advocate, but I also know firsthand how freaking hard it is. And I'll just share a little bit of my story just to put it into context. But when my firstborn Arthur, when he was born, he was 9 days early and he was a very small bub and we couldn't latch him. We also went privately. We went through the private hospital, so I had 3-4 days in the hospital after he was born, and that was actually a godsend for me. So I had support around the clock each day. Midwives come in, you know, I could click a button and midwives would be there with me and they would help me hand express, and we would express into a syringe and feed him with the syringe. And then on the last day before I left the hospital, a lactation consultant came to me and she gave me a nipple shield, and he latched on the nipple shield, which was obviously the most amazing feeling. I could go home knowing that I was feeding my baby, and that was all that I wanted. I was extremely determined to breastfeed. In my mind, that is what I was going to do, so I pushed through and made sure I got there. In saying that though, when I got home, you know, it was still really difficult. I had cracked nipples, bleeding nipples, I had mastitis a lot. When Arthur was 9 weeks old, I had a huge abscess on my breast from blocked milk ducts, and I ended up back in hospital again and had breast surgery to remove it because I couldn't move it any other way. And that was pretty traumatic, really. I ended up with quite a large hole in my breast from where they had to dig out the abscess, and I had a nurse come to me in my home and she would pack it and put gel in to try to repair it, and it took quite a few weeks for the actual hole to repair, and it was it was pretty yucky. But in saying that, I pushed on and fed Arthur until he was 15 months old, and our journey was actually in the end really beautiful, and you know, it all worked out really well for me. But what I'm trying to say is that I was really lucky that I had those days in hospital, because that is what I needed. So I had support around me for the first week of Arthur's life basically, and we all don't get that. We all go home and we kind of have to do it on our own almost, you know, and it is as natural as it is. I mean, I can't rave enough about breastfeeding. It's beautiful, the bond, it's glorious, it's absolutely beautiful, but it is really difficult, and it's a skill. So it's a skill for mum to learn and it's a skill for bub to learn, and you have to work together to try to master that skill, and you need support around you to be able to do so. But we don't have that. Really, we don't have that. So what I'm trying to say is seek some support now and prepare yourself. So go on the web, look for breastfeeding positions, breastfeeding techniques, research how your milk comes in and what actually happens, like the process that actually happens to your body for the milk to come through and develop. And maybe all of those things might give you a little bit more of an insight into what will actually happen to you after you have your child. There's also a lot to be said about the wisdom of the people around you. So your mum, your grandmother, your friends and family who have had children before you. Seek wisdom of the people who will share their stories with you, because that's really important for everybody. It's important for people to share. It's important for us to hear people's stories and learn from them, and maybe you might get something out of it. There are midwives and lactation consultants who at this time in this crisis are creating wonderful supportive Facebook groups and things like that, so I'll tag a couple of people here as well. And I'm also offering, you know, video chat support, or send me a message if you need it.